Insurance isn't one size fits all, and shopping for it shouldn't feel like squeezing into something that just doesn't fit. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they show you options that fit your budget. Enough hunting for discounts, trying to calculate rates, and tinkering with coverages. Maybe you're picking out your very first policy, or maybe you're just looking for something that works better for you and your family. Either way, they make it simple to see your options. No guesswork, no surprises. Ready to see how easy and fun shopping for car insurance can be? Visit Progressive.com and give the Name Your Price tool a try. Take the stress out of shopping and find coverage that fits your life, on your terms. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
AI is moving fast across the enterprise. But without visibility, it's just chaos. Different tools, different models, different teams using AI in completely different ways. ServiceNow turns that chaos into control. With the AI Control Tower, you see all your AI across the business in one place. What it's doing, what it's done, and what it's about to do. So you stay in control. To put AI to work for people, visit servicenow.com.
And we're live on match day as Doug reaches for a buffalo wing. He's got it! Oh, and he's gone for a can of Pepsi too! What a finish! There's no doubt about it. It just tastes better. Match days deserve Pepsi.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, zero tears.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
All right, Duke fans, welcome to episode 834 of the Duke Basketball Roundup. You're not going to believe it. I know it's been a while. Jason and Donald together on the same episode.
We did this once, like it was like a week or two ago. But we're back.
Something, I don't know. It feels like it's been a while. It feels like Scott's been doing a lot of filling in lately. Jason Evans and Donald Wine here. We've got a whole bunch of NBA stuff for you. We've got some interesting little recruiting things that perhaps a trend happening in college basketball we're going to talk about. But before we get to any of that, Donald Wine, I have to ask you, what you been up to lately, man?
Well, my World Cup travels have come to an end, even though, Jason, you can see this, but I'm in a hotel room in outside of Dallas. I'm here for a family reunion. I was here this weekend for a family reunion, and I go back to D.C. Tonight. And then I'll be back at home for the foreseeable future because I'm grounded. After about a month and a half of travel, I think I've been at home for roughly 3.5 days since the start of the World Cup. But it's been a blast. I'm going to be doing a lot of content this week as we wrap up the World Cup. We still got one more week left of the tournament. But it's been a fun ride. It's been very tiring. I don't know what city I'm in. I know what city I'm in now. I've taken a couple days to kind of get my bearings back. I still don't know what day of the week it is. I think I told you a couple weeks ago.
It's Sunday.
It's Sunday. Thank you. Which is funny because yesterday I thought it was Sunday. And then I said, you know what? We're just going to take this week to recalibrate and get back to reality that we did not chase for a month and a half.
Hey, so I know that we are the Duke Basketball Roundup, but tell me your feelings about the World Cup so far, and then actually start with what are your feelings about the whole red card controversy regarding Balogun and all that stuff. Give me 2 minutes on that.
Well, I will save that part for my show, the soccer show, because I want to. That's not a 2-minute conversation, Jason. That's like a 40-minute conversation. I'm going to try and surmise in 5 minutes on that show. But I will say this World Cup has been a blast. It's been, some great games so far. We're down to this is, Jason, funny enough, everyone thinks about how the cream rises to the top, and we think about that in college basketball terms with regards to the NCAA tournament. We basically just had the number one seeds from each quadrant make the Final Four. It's the first time that's ever happened that the top 4 ranked teams made the Final Four of the World Cup. It's the first time since 1990 that it's all teams that have won before. So we're going to get a repeat champion of some sort. Someone who has won before is going to win this World Cup. That's the first time that's happened in 36 years. So there's a lot of history being made with this tournament. And I think the one thing that people were questioning before this tournament was, are we going to get some terrible games because there's 48 teams? We haven't. I think the reason for that is not necessarily the teams at the top, but those teams at the bottom that everybody was questioning rose to the occasion. Some people got into the tournament for their first time ever, for their first time in decades. And they really took note of that occasion and said, hey, this is our moment. Let's make the most of it. Teams like Cabo Verde, teams like DR Congo, those type of warm-hearted stories that you see now. People are like, hey, I want to see more of these guys. I want to see more of these players. I will say, the U.S. men's national team, we got to where we were supposed to. We were 16th in the world. We finished 12th at the World Cup. That's about where you're trying to go. And now our next level is to try and get to that upper echelon and to beat those top 10 teams like a Belgium, like a Portugal, like a Brazil or Argentina or in England. You want to be able to consistently know how to beat these teams so that next time you're at the World Cup and you see a team, you don't say, oh, wow, this is a tough road. You go, hey, these are teams that we can beat if we put our minds to it and if we play well enough. We just didn't play well enough on that day in Seattle last Monday to beat Belgium. There's obviously a lot of factors surrounding the actual game, but on the field, it was clear. Belgium played well. The United States didn't. That's the reason why we're sitting at home.
Yep. Well, we got 4 years to improve on that. And of course, soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, is very much worth watching in years where there isn't a World Cup.
And I will say, this is not like the Olympics, right? The Olympics, we all become figure skating experts, and then we don't watch figure skating for 4 years, right? Soccer is year round. Some of these guys that you saw at the World Cup are going to be playing with their clubs in just under 2 weeks. So you have some of this opportunity to learn more about these players, learn more about these teams. And next summer, we have the Women's World Cup. So I'm going to be right back at it. That's in Brazil. So arrivederci, Jason. I might be reporting from a foreign country next summer for the World Cup. But it's going to be a lot of fun to watch how this game grows. And I think the idea is, if this is your first time watching the World Cup or really engaging with soccer, take the opportunity to learn about some teams, not just teams abroad that are really good, but teams that are close to you. Because guess what? Some of the players that you saw in this World Cup might be playing down the street from you, wherever you may be. So check it out. Obviously, I have podcasts that talk about soccer year round. Now, Jason, let's get back to the basketball.
Yeah, let's get back to the basketball. And we're going to start with this little item, and you'll see why this item will lead us into something else. But we want to congratulate Cameron Boozer on being named the ACC's Male Athlete of the Year. This is a pretty big deal award. This obviously comprises every single sport, every single athlete competing at any ACC school. This is not like, and by the way, it's not automatically given to like a basketball or a football player. For the most part, these awards tend to be won by guys in other sports. In fact, the two guys that Cam Boozer beat out for this award were Isaac Trumbull of NC State, who was a wrestler who won the national title, the heavyweight wrestling crown in college wrestling, and North Carolina's superstar freshman pitcher Caden Glober, who was like freshman of the year nationally, literally one of the best pitchers in the entire country. Like I said, won freshman of the year. So those were his competition. And Cam Boozer became the 13th Duke men's basketball player to win the ACC's Male Athlete of the Year award. Cooper Flagg actually won it a year ago. Prior to that, it was Zion Williamson who won it for Duke. Again, there have been 13 Duke men's basketball players who've won it. In terms of overall, there have been 18 Duke men who've won the ACC Player of the Year. North Carolina is second with 15 players from North Carolina in various sports again who've won it, and then Virginia with 10. But this is just a huge award for Cameron Boozer to take, and it sort of caps off his his incredible 1 year where he set numerous records and just did it all and just came up a little tiny bit short in terms of, Duke reaching the promised land. But what a season for Cam, and a well-deserved ACC Male Athlete of the Year for him. Any thoughts on that, Donald?
Yeah, I mean, look, it took him literally doing stuff that no one has done this century to win this thing. I mean, this is a big deal. But no disrespect to the wrestler or to the baseball player, but Cam Boozer, was every time we talked about him doing something, it was the first time in 30 years or the first time since 2000, like the first time this century. Those were words that we were using to describe his play. And we had done some of that last year with Cooper Flagg. So the idea that he is voted the best male athlete of any athlete in the ACC, which now encompasses 2 coasts, is incredible. And if you consider, Jason, the fact that, we've talked about this on this show before, but we have Stanford and we have Cal, 2 schools that dominate in every non-revenue sport, it feels like, and especially when we're talking about Olympic sports. They're the schools that are leading the country and feeding those teams. And to have someone from our team, from our basketball team, to take a title over some of those guys who, again, we're going to see in Olympics down the road, is nothing short of incredible. And make no mistake, I think we will see Cam Boozer in an Olympic uniform at some point in his career as well. So, congratulations to Cam. It's just another accolade to add to what was a great season for him at Duke. And now we get to see him at the next level, and maybe again alongside some of those Olympic athletes in the near future.
And you just provided the segue that I was alluding to earlier. Let's go from Cam winning the ACC Male Athlete of the Year award to Cam playing in the NBA Summer League. His first times, going out there as a member of the Memphis Grizzlies. So far, just so folks have the numbers, Cam has been very, very good and very, very efficient. That should come as zero surprise. It's worth noting Summer League is not regular NBA competition. You're going to be playing against, there'll be some guys on every team, obviously, who are legit NBA players. But once you get beyond the maybe 4 or 5 guys, you're getting into dudes who are trying to find a space in the NBA, as opposed to guys who are already established NBA players. So, with that said, still, Cameron Boozer's averaging 18.7 points per game in his Summer League performance so far, 5.7 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game. And I note that specifically, Donald, because what I'm seeing from Memphis, at least in Summer League play, and I mean, it's worth noting Memphis is trying to, at least replicate a bit of what they want to get out of Cameron Boozer. Like, there's no reason for them to have him do things in Summer League that they don't want him to do on the regular team. They're putting the ball in his hands. They're letting him make decisions. They're using him very much the same way Duke used him. And I don't know that there are a lot of people who necessarily thought the NBA was going to try and run their offense through Cam the way Duke did. So it's very interesting to me to see Memphis doing that at the Summer League level. Honestly, wins and losses at Summer League mean nothing, No one keeps track of the standings that much. What matters is how are you developing the guys who play in your Summer League team so that they can contribute to your regular team. And so, again, the fact that Memphis is using Cam as a bit of a point forward at times is just very intriguing to me. He's hitting better than 62% of his shots from the field. He's been hitting a number of 3-pointers, playing really great defense as well. None of these things should be a surprise, but anytime you see Cam doing stuff that is translating from his dominant college basketball persona to an NBA court, it's a big deal. Give me a little bit of what you got on Cam Boozer.
I think he's been very, very solid so far. And like you said, the NBA Summer League has become this thing where people have way more attention to it. We're the kings of overanalyzation of practice video, right? Like, this is like the NBA equivalent of NFL's OTAs, where everyone just like, oh my God, this guy showed up and he looked great in his 3 minutes that we saw of him throwing the ball in practice. This guy is going to be a star. But this is more organized in a way. And you mentioned the fact that nobody really cares about wins and losses, but they even have stepped this up with Vegas, where they have a championship and people get rings for winning Summer League. I know it's not as big a deal, but at least they've enveloped some competition into this, so it's not just glorified exhibitions. But what you do get to see is a Memphis Grizzlies team who is in the midst of a makeover, right? We talked about the fact that they were going to trade Ja Morant. They were looking to, they finally did. So now they're like, okay, what does the future look like? And they've added some pieces. They've been very active on the trade market and the free agency market to kind of rebuild their team and even rebuild their image in a way, because Camp Boozer feels like he's going to be the centerpiece of this team. How do they build around him? And it seems like, Jason, I think the one thing that I've been mildly surprised at is that they are kind of constructing this roster in a way that looks similar to what we were doing at Duke with him. And maybe he took some calls from John Shire and said, hey, and the coach said, hey, what do you guys see in him, and how did you build your offense around him? Because they're going to try and do the same thing. And so I have been really, really impressed. And Jason, I would be remiss if we did not note that they just played, was it the Bulls the other day? And
Yeah.
he got that strip on Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson had a great game that when he had 7 3-pointers in that game, and he had 7 3-pointers in his entire college career. So again, some guys' games will translate differently to the NBA, but what was great about Cam Boozer was that he was solid, he was effective, he has the defense going. He's starting to strip the ball. He's clearly learned a lot from Maliq Brown in that regard. And so those are things that I'm looking to see him improve on as we go forward, not just with Summer League. And who knows how many more games we see with him in Summer League, as we've mentioned before.
Well,
the big stars are not going to really play him the entire time. But
yeah, they may have shut him down. They had a game that their most recent game he did not play in at all, and it's possible Memphis may have just said, okay, we've seen enough of him in summer league. They may have shut him down. It wouldn't be surprising at all. I also want to mention you mentioned Caleb Wilson, just an electric debut from him. He had scored 35 points in his summer league debut, which I forget, either tied a record or it set a record.
Set a record, yeah.
Yeah, most points in a summer league debut, and like you said, 7 3-pointers from a guy who. The book on Caleb Wilson was he's not an outside shooter, but he does everything else. Well, maybe he's even added outside shooting. Oh my goodness. There are already people out there who are like, hey, guy drafted, just outside of the first couple picks from North Carolina, going to the Chicago Bulls. Are we getting flashbacks a little bit to Michael Jordan here?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe slow your roll a little bit on that, but Caleb Wilson does look like a guy who is going to be a very, very impactful player. And I think that if you look at sort of the Bulls roster and you look at like the Memphis roster, I feel like Cam Boozer and Caleb Wilson are going to be the early front runners for Rookie of the Year, because they're going to get more. It's easier to see their chances versus like Darren Peterson in Utah and AJ Dybansa in Washington, where I'm not sure Utah and Washington are going to run everything through Dybansa and Peterson the way I think maybe the Bulls and definitely Memphis are going to run things through Cam and Caleb.
And I think also with Summer League, it's been, this isn't something that happens every year, but it was great to see that we kind of had these matchups, right? We had the number 3 and number 4 pick going against each other. We had the number 1 and number 2 pick going against each other. So you see some of the in a draft that everyone was talking about, the top 4 to 5 guys. It's cool to kind of see those matchups early. It's kind of, Summer League can kind of set you up for what you expect to see, not just during the regular season, but also for some of these rookies, what we hope to see over the next 10 years, right? Where you have these guys going after each other. We still have the whole thing with, Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham, where the Pistons got Cade number 1 and Jalen Green thought he should have got number 1. And they formed a rivalry out of that still exists today every time they play each other. So those little things are things that we can see and look forward to seeing more of, Dybansa versus Boozer, Peterson versus Wilson, and all those guys kind of going after each other, hopefully for the next 10 to 15 years.
Hey, so really quick, I do want to also mention a few other Duke guys playing Summer League. Isaiah Evans, Slim, oh boy. This was not a good debut from the Slim Reaper for Minnesota. He shot 2 of 15 from the field, including 0 of 9 from 3-point range. Ouch. He did grab 5 rebounds. I actually saw people really praising his defense, his intensity. Slim sort of showed that he can do more than just be a shooter, but to come out there and shoot 2 of 15 in your first game, I'm sure Slim wanted to do a little bit better, and he will do better. We've seen enough from him to know that he can get incredibly, incredibly hot. But that was not a great debut. Maliq Brown had a really nice first game for the San Antonio Spurs. He had 10 points in his debut against the Miami Heat for San Antonio. He's quieted off since then. Malik is averaging around 4.5 points per game, almost 4 rebounds per game. He's still getting his steals and deflections and stuff, but it's clear that the San Antonio Spurs are going to want Malik to get some time in the G League. He's got to be at least a bit of a threat on offense. He's hitting some 3-pointers, which I'm sure San Antonio really likes to see, but that's gonna be a tough rotation for him to crack. So far Malik is still a little bit of a reluctant scorer. Let's put it that way.
Well, I think in the case of Maliq Brown and Isaiah Evans, this is what you want, right? You don't necessarily want them to do poorly in summer league, but you want them to get that experience and get that welcome to the NBA moment to say, hey, this is the bar, right? And it's not going to come easy. Not everyone has debuts like, Cam or even, Cooper, remember last year had his debut and he had like 10 points and he was like, this is the worst I've ever played. He then the next game had 31 points and they said,
right,
shut it down. We're done now. So it's kind of like a Moneyball when Billy Bean goes, if you get the answer you want, hang up. That's kind of what these guys are going to be doing. But for the case of the guys, in the second round that are getting drafted, it's an opportunity to learn more about what it's going to take to play at a high, consistent level in the NBA, and now use that experience to work out all summer and come to fall camp prepared and ready to go. Just because we see them not do well here doesn't mean they're destined for anything, any role when they come in. They're going to earn all that through the training camp in the fall, but this is setting them up to learn what it's going to be like in the fall and beyond as they get into the NBA.
Hey, 2 other Duke guys I want to mention very, very quickly off of some summer league stuff. The first one is Trevor Keels. Trevor Keels, who, left Duke after 1 year, didn't get picked where he wanted to be picked. He's gotten some 2-way contracts. He's never found a foothold in the NBA, but I think Trevor Keels has a real chance. First of all, he's playing for Miami's summer league team, and Miami, of course, traded a ton of assets, a ton of guys to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis. I'm not even going to say it. I can't. Can you say his last name? I can't say it.
Antetokounmpo.
God bless you.
I got you.
Anyway, they gave up a lot for Giannis. And as a result, there's some spots on that roster that can be had. If you look at their current depth chart, like at the shooting guard and the small forward, I'm sort of like, who? Yeah, really? I'm not saying to be like a starter, but getting it down to like the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th man on that roster, that's an NBA roster spot. There could be room there for someone like a Trevor Keels. So Trevor Keels in their most recent summer league game had 32 points. He shot 12 of 19 from the floor, including 6 of 10 3-pointers. He had 14 points in their first game. He's grabbing some rebounds. He's getting some assists. He had 3 steals in one of their games. I don't know what the Heat are doing. I don't know the Heat situation with contracts and the such, because that's always, they're guys who get contracts who just have to be on the roster even though they're not contributing. But I think there's a chance that Trevor Keels could find a way to make that roster, which would be a huge deal for him after he sort of bounced between, the G League and not even having a two-way contract and the such.
And it doesn't necessarily need to be the Heat. Jason, this is one of the more volatile NBA off seasons we had in a very long time. Not just the draft, but also free agency, the number of trades we've had. The Kawhi trade is now on hold, which I believe involves 6 teams because of the Aspiration investigation. So there's a lot of guys still in hold. And Bam Adebayo got into a fight with Tyler Hero in Vegas. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening here. So the idea is that Trevor Keels getting that may not be necessarily a good situation for him in Miami, but who saw that? The other 29 teams in the NBA who said, if we have to put this on hold, or if this doesn't clear, or if this guy doesn't sign, we have room in our roster for a guy who can add 32 points in a summer league game and see what he can do. Like, that's what summer league's about. It's not necessarily about getting signed by the team you're playing for, but it's to get more eyeballs on you. And all 30 teams are in Vegas to watch these teams play. And that circulated. So the fact that he had a great, game with the Heat could set him up well for the fall. And it may not be in Miami, but it will be in the NBA somewhere.
I mean, that'd be really, believe me, Trevor Keels would, like I
It'd
said,
be great
dude
to see him back. Yeah,
he's-
great to see him.
yeah, he's struggled to get to the NBA level. He's like just on that cusp right underneath it. Another guy like that is DJ Steward. Folks remember him? In his first game for Portland at Summer League, he had 21 points. He was the leading scorer for them. He also had 8 rebounds. Remember DJ Steward was like this, he's this little dude who just go out there and grab tons of rebounds. He had a nose for the ball. He's another guy who's like, he's struggled to get that full NBA contract. Even hasn't, I think he got a 1-2-way deal at one point, DJ Steward. Anyway, good to see these guys balling out in Summer League.
And can I also note that these two guys specifically, the fact that they're still trying and people are like, come on, man, give it a rest. No, never chase that. Because here's the thing. We all think about guys, the linear path to get to the NBA, play well, get drafted, sign, go, right? And we have a lot of guys that follow that linear path. But we also have guys like Jack White, who did not get drafted.
Right.
Then went back to Australia, played a couple years, won a title, and I believe he won a title in Australia with Melbourne United. He then signed with the Denver Nuggets and like a G League contract, and like a year and a half later, he was an NBA champion. Like those things can happen. So for these guys to continue to chase their dream, go for it, guys. I hope to see both of them in the NBA.
Yeah, it'd be nice, and we need more Dukies in the NBA.
Absolutely. The Kentucky and UNC are adding a little too more. We need to temper their expectations of thinking they're going to be the top dogs of the NBA. We need more guys there.
Hey, one other Duke NBA thing I wanted to mention. This involves Gary Trent, who signed a contract that there are a lot of folks saying that the NBA, that the league office is going to have some questions about this. So Gary Trent has signed a 4-year, $64 million deal with the Milwaukee Bucks. That comes out to $16 million per season. A couple of years ago, that would have made sense for Gary Trent. Absolutely. Because he was scoring mid to upper teens, and a very efficient 3-point shooter, hitting around 40% of his threes. Gary Trent, was a very legit NBA rotation guy, part-time starter. 4 years, $64 million would have made perfect sense. But so here's the timeline. A year ago, he signed with Milwaukee for the NBA minimum, which was a little surprising. You were like, wow, I mean, he'd come off a year where he was, like I said, a mid-teen scorer, and seemingly you were kind of surprised that he was signing for, it was like $2.5 million or so. But then this past season, he had a poor year. In fact, toward the end of the year, he had kind of fallen out of the Milwaukee rotation. And so it's kind of mystifying why Milwaukee would, like, no one else was going to bid against Milwaukee for Gary Trent's services. At least, not more than an NBA minimum contract. So why are they signing him to a $16 million a year, 4-year guaranteed deal? Well, there are a lot of people who think that Milwaukee made a wink, wink, nudge, nudge secret arrangement with Gary Trent a year ago, and that a year ago when they signed him for the NBA minimum, which was way less than he should have been earning, that they may have promised him and his agent, don't worry, we're going to take care of you a year from now, and that now they are taking care of him. That would, of course, be against the NBA's rules. That would be illegal. You're not allowed to sign a guy to a deal and then secretly agree to pay him money in some other kind of way, even if it's his next contract. That's just not allowed at all. But this contract kind of stinks a little bit. I'm thrilled that Gary's getting his money. That's a big old contract. And Gary's had a very, very, very successful NBA career, and has earned a lot of money. And now he's got another $64 million coming to him over the next 4 years. But Donald, I think there's a possibility that there may have been some cap circumnavigation going on here by the Bucks. They could get in trouble for this deal.
I mean, look, I'm not going to touch that. But first of all, I'm going to say congratulations, Gary. Gary has earned his money. He may not people may not think he earned it last year, but he, over the course of his career, he's been very, very good in a lot of role situations, both with the Bucks, with the Blazers. He was in the Raptors for a little bit. Like he's done well. And
his best years were in Toronto for the Raptors. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that he is getting this money, I have no problem with it. I think the funny thing is a year ago when people were like, oh, they're trying to circumvent the cap, they were having a lot of situations with, remember a year ago, they thought they were going to trade Giannis and they didn't. So now that they've traded him for 87 pieces and 47 draft picks, my question is, who else is on the Bucks? Because they have a salary floor to get to as well, and maybe that's part of it. I will also say this is not necessarily a Gary Trent thing. It could be the Bucks buttering up his agent. Who's his agent, Jason? Rich Paul, who is LeBron's agent, and LeBron is the biggest free agent out there right now. 29 teams are after him. The only team that's really not going after him is the LA Lakers, who he left. Everyone else can say that they're out of the equation, but nobody. If LeBron calls, they listen. And so maybe this is a way of saying, hey, all your guys, we can get your guys here, but we're looking for number 23 to give us a call if he's available. So I don't know if that's part of it, but here's the thing.
LeBron's not going to Milwaukee. LeBron's going someplace he can win a title.
LeBron's going somewhere he can win a title. But they have a lot of pieces that they can, they have a lot of cap space. They have a lot of pieces.
No,
my point is that sometimes you have to rob Peter to pay Paul. This might be robbing Peter to pay Paul. I don't know what that is, but at the end of the day, I think Gary Trent has earned his money. He may not have earned it last year, according to people, but look, he has earned it over the course of his career, and I'm glad that he got his money. If the NBA wants to investigate, they can file that underneath the aspiration investigation they have, under the Tyler Hero Bam fight that they have to now discuss. There's a lot of other investigations they haven't completed yet. So maybe they're like, hey, in the course of 4 years, maybe they won't get to this. I don't know. But I think at the end of the day, Gary Trent has earned his money. That's what I stand on. Congratulations to Gary Trent on that contract.
Okay, with that, Donald, do you know what we have not discussed at all so far in this podcast? Next year's Duke Blue Devils basketball team. We got a little kind of side thing we want to mention about Jojo. Yes, Jojo is the man's name. We will talk about that in just a moment.
Are all batteries the same? That's like asking if all soccer players are the same. Take Messi, the most decorated player ever. Is there any other player who has achieved that? No, just him. Now take Duracell. Is there any other battery with power boost ingredients inside? No, just Duracell. Remember, goats only trust goats because they're built different. And Messi only trusts Duracell.
This episode is brought to you by Google Health. Stop chasing someone else's definition of health. What matters is what's healthy for you. Google Health offers a new kind of coach built with Gemini for effortless tracking, sleep insights, and holistic coaching tailored to you. Visit googlestore.com to learn more and start a new relationship with your health. Requires Google account, Google Health app, internet, and Google Health Premium subscription. Features subject to change. Availability and results vary. Not intended for medical purposes. Works independently of Gemini apps. Check responses for accuracy.
Hey, it's Bill from the Bill Simmons podcast. FIFA World Cup 26 fans, listen up. Is the official beer sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 26. Michelob Ultra is giving away $1 million worth of FIFA World Cup 26 tickets and prizes. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26. Michelob Ultra FIFA World Cup 26 superior access. No purchase necessary. Open U.S. residents 21 plus begins on December 1st, 2025. Ends on July 31st, 2026. Multiple entry periods. Visit www.MichelobUltra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26 for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at Accenture.com/Spotify.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day one, or day two, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
All right, we're back from the break here on the Duke Basketball Roundup. Jason and Donald. We have talked, Donald, both you and I and Scott Rich, endlessly, it feels like lately, about Maliq Brown, who, by the way, has now arrived on Duke campus. He arrived earlier this week, very shortly after winning the FIBA Under-17 World Cup, being named MVP there, of course. And if you've been hiding under a log, he was truly outstanding, playing against 6'4" Japanese players and Puerto Ricans and such.
Hey, you play the games, you play the teams in front of you, and he dominated the teams in front of him for sure.
He did. This is very, very true. So there are two things I want to do regarding Jojo. And again, he announced he's not JBB, he's not Boom Boom, he's Jojo. First one is this. When he announced he was coming to Duke and everyone was like, wow, this guy's going to be here for 2 years. It was a very big deal, that he was coming early, essentially, and he's not eligible for the NBA draft until 2028. Well, it may have established a little bit of a trend because we've now seen just in the past week 2 other players who were originally class of 2027, meaning 2028 draft eligible. In fact, if you had to pick like the top 3 players, the 3 best guys in the class of 2027 who will be 2028 draft eligible, you would pick Jojo, Maliq Brown, you would pick Marcus Spears, and you would pick Nicholas Kusturica, who is the Serbian guy. I've mentioned him before. He's the guy who scored 35 points on Team USA in the FIBA championship game. All 3 of those guys have now announced that they're going to be going to college next year. Marcus Spears is going to Texas. Nicholas Kusturica is going to UCLA. I mentioned that. And Jojo is going to be at Duke. But we have 3 guys who are, 17 years old, 16, 17 years old, who are going to be coming into college basketball next year and will be forced to play 2 years before they go to the NBA draft. And Donald, I really feel like this could be the start of a little bit of a trend. The money in college basketball has gotten to be so big that I think, guys, if you can get your high school stuff done, if you're an international player who looks like you're good, if you look like you can contribute as a 17-year-old, meaning, a year earlier than most other guys would arrive on campus, guys are going to start doing this because you can get paid and you can develop. I mean, think about the development that comes playing against college players as opposed to playing against high school players. There's, night and day. And we're going to see it with Maliq Brown, with Marcus Spears at Texas, and with Nicholas Kusturica at UCLA.
First off, Jason, we live in a world where Marcus Spears Jr. is one of the top players in college basketball.
I know. I remember his dad.
We are old. Like that man has been on ESPN for about 15 years now. It feels like. But man, we are old. The fact that he is one of the top players in college basketball in any class, and is about to play college basketball at Texas. But I digress. I think the idea about serving 2 years in college should be welcome to everyone who hates NIL and hates the one and done era. The fact that we can, and sure, it doesn't guarantee that these guys are going to stay at one school for those 2 years, right, but it gives a better opportunity for that to happen, because a lot of people have lamented the fact that we don't get to learn some of these guys because they're gone, whether it's through the portal or to the NBA. Now we have a chance to retain some of these guys. And I think for the coaches, it allows them to better construct rosters in this new era, especially with the 5-and-5 rule, which we've discussed on the show. Over the next couple of years, you're going to have some log jams in some of these schools. Yeah. And to have one of those guys be a guy that you're like, hey, we can keep him for at least 2 years before he's eligible to go to the pros, I think is a welcome change. And I think some of these states still have these kind of weird quasi rules about NIL and how much you can earn. Some are limited. All 50 states have 50 different problems, and then you've in DC as well. But the fact that you can, for some of these guys, it's still like you see the rising number of NIL dollars in college basketball, college football. Teams are going to be like, hey, do you want to stay in high school, or do you want to graduate early and come here, start your preparation for the NBA draft a year early, and also make $3 million, which 2 years ago was like an unfathomable amount of money for a college player. Now that's like, it feels like the base end of a decent star. So I think these guys are starting to see that. And I think also it helps the coaches because they can kind of look further down the road and go, hey,
yeah,
1 year we have these guys, and 2 years we have these guys, and they can kind of start figuring out the roster construction, because in a way it also kind of, Jason, builds up to something that might happen at some point, is that there's going to be a ceiling to this. There's going to be a point where college sports go, this is too much NIL money for people. We're not paying, coaches are going to say, we're not paying this, $10 million, $11 million. We're not doing that anymore. We need to have a salary cap or some sort of salary thing come into place. And the teams who have already kind of constructed their rosters years into the future, they will be best set up for success, because they'll be the ones that kind of go, okay, we have this room here, but we have these guys already in the fold, and it helps, if there's a meeting point, right? Okay, if you can't make more than $5 million, anybody that's making $6 right now will be grandfathered in. They're not going anywhere. So some of these guys are probably set up to be like, okay, now we can get these guys secured at a rate that if something changes with regards to NIL and the rules here, these guys will be secure, and we will be secure in thinking that they're going to stick around. So that helps the teams, it helps the fans learn more about these players and really get to endear themselves. We get to have JoJo hopefully for 2 years in a Duke uniform, and just with his, obviously potential, that alone should be exciting. But to have all these guys in the fold, and now, Jason, we've talked about this, but now you will see more multi-year contracts with some of these NIL teams. More ironclad, I should hope. We had to deal with that in January, but I think there's going to be more of those presenting themselves with multi-year deals where guys go, hey, I'll just book myself for a couple of years because I know that short of a buyout, I'm going to be getting some money that's pretty good for the next 2 years, as opposed to staying in high school and earning whatever the state allows me to get.
All right, so let's move on to one other thing, and then we'll be all done here on the DBR podcast. There's been, in the past few days, a run of people talking about, and I think it was maybe Sleepers Media who first started discussing this. People maybe getting a little bit of irrational exuberance regarding Jojo Boumtje-Boumtje, and they're saying, at first the debate was, how do he and Cam Williams both find time? Cam Williams considered, top 3, top 5 in the freshman class. JBB considered, this unbelievable recruit who's, going to be potentially likely the number 1 pick in the 2028 draft. How do you fit both those? They're both, stretch 4s with great size but great shooting touch. How do you fit them both on the floor? And someone said, well, maybe you play them both together. And that would likely mean that you wouldn't be starting, maybe you start them both and you don't start Patrick Gungba. And this is a thing that's out there right now, Donald. And I think these people have lost their ever-loving minds. I just don't. All these guys are going to get minutes. They're going to get time. I just think that people they're getting a little crazy on the JBB stuff. And it relates to what we were just talking about with these guys coming early. There's just a ton of development that happens your 17-year-old year. And I don't know. I think JoJo is going to be an incredible player for Duke. I don't think that's going to be right out of the box. I've said before, I don't think he's a starter on day one. I just don't. And so these people who are saying, oh yeah, he's gonna that. But by the way, they say that he would start, that JoJo would start at center, and that Pat would come off the bench. I'm just like, I don't even begin to see it. The notion that a kid who should still be functionally at the high school level would replace a junior Patrick Gungba, who's going to be an NBA draft pick, as the starting center for Duke. I don't know where these people. I don't know what they're smoking. I just can't say. I don't see it.
First of all, I think social media needs to normalize ignoring stupid takes like this. Like not yours, Jason, but the guy who said
I hear you.
Pat Gongbo, who was one of the top centers in the country last year, despite even having been injured, being a guy that should come off the bench. Like, idiots, dumb. But what I say is this, right? First of all, I'm just going to make a slight petition in jest. We have JoJo now. We have Ron. I think we got to go Cam. Like, we've already had Cam. We don't want to mistake him between Boozer and Williams. We just go Cam there. We'll call him Cameron for now, or Cam. But I think, Jason, the fact that we have this kind of hype around a player now, JoJo's hype in this case is one that we were kind of talking about, like, hey, this guy might be pretty good. And then he hit the FIBA circuit, and all of a sudden everybody now thinks he's really good, right? This is what happens when you get a air quotes diamond in the rough. You get a guy, and all of a sudden he breaks out, and everybody's like offering their take of this guy's going to be the best player in the country. He's going to start every game. He's going to average 47 points and 57 rebounds because he dominated, under 17 international kids. We think he's going to be very good, but I think the idea is we don't want to, we overanalyze things, but we very rarely overhype, right? The times that we have offered, no, because the times that we have been like, this guy is going to be the greatest thing ever, right? For me, it was three guys. It was Zion Williamson. I was right. It was Cooper Flagg. We were right. And it was Cam Boozer. Like, we were overhyping him, and people were like, man, I mean, they're going to be good, but not that good. They turned out to be that good in college. And I think with some of these guys, there is a tendency when they do something good, and it's the internet, right? You do one thing good, all of a sudden you're the greatest thing ever. If he had come back from that game where he had 31 points and 17 rebounds, and he had like 8 points, people are like, oh, this guy's trash. This washed. Like, he's not going to play. Right? That's how it is. We live in a society where extremes get engagement. And so, for the case of JoJo, for us as Duke fans, we have something that we can control, and that is our expectations, and that is our hype. And we can say, let this guy develop. He's 17 years old. He just turned 17, a month and a half ago? Not even. Yeah. Let that man be a 17-year-old, because he's already getting he's moving from Spain back to the United States to become a college player at arguably the program that has the most eyes in all of basketball on any level. He already has pressure. We don't need to add to it. So allow these guys to, develop, allow him to get to know his teammates, because he hasn't been a part of summer workouts yet. Now he's going to be a part of those. And once we get those granular, air quotes, raw, uncut that aren't raw, and they're not uncut, like, once we get those, then we can overanalyze the situation. Because, Jason, we're good at that. We live for that. But rarely do we say this guy is going to be great after like 2 games. This is something where we just want to see if he is good. And we have a debate in the fall about whether Cam Williams or Jojo Boumtje-Boumtje is starting. You know who wins? Duke, because that means that 4 that we talked about when you said in the spring when we had what were our hot takes. You said the 4 position is going to be a question mark. Now the question mark is who's going to be dominating in that position, and it could be both of them. So I'm really excited about this summer. I'm really excited about him getting acclimated with his team and at the school. And I'm going to let him do that. And then once we get some actual footage with him with his current team, then we can start the questions of who's going to start, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. But let him be a 17-year-old for now, entering college for the first time.
I want to remind everybody, in terms of the hype machine and the summer hype machine and the such, what JoJo did at the 17U FIBA championship, hey, it was great. It was awesome. 2 years ago, we sat here over the summer and we watched Cooper Flagg play against the Olympic team.
Right.
We
and dominate them.
Remember that?
And dominate them. And we're like, oh no.
Yeah. Sometimes there is hype that seems entirely justified. And sometimes they're hype where you're like, well, maybe we should slow our roll a little bit. I'm wondering if maybe the JoJo hype, slow our roll a little time. Let's see a little more evidence. This is not Cooper Flagg playing against LeBron James and like being every bit as good as him. This is a whole different kind of thing.
And in a sense, right, we had it last year a little bit, right, with Dame Sarr in a different way.
Yeah.
Where Dame Sarr came in, we're like this unknown who, like, oh, this guy is incredible. He's going to be great. You see him this summer, that man looks like he's gained 30 pounds of muscle.
Oh, my God. The weight
and
guys.
An attitude to couple. Like, this guy's going to be, like, he could be a monster, and we may not be talking about a JoJo or a Cam because
the strength and conditioning guys at Duke have done a number on Dame Sarr. He does not look like the same person.
He looks like a tight end.
Oh, he looks terrifying in a good way.
And if he's going to be playing the defense that he did last year, even better.
No, don't even.
Forget about it. Right. So we have these. We can sit there and be excited about this, but like, let's get these guys out here. Let's get some of these, these little nuggets from Duke men's basketball. Let's get these nugget videos out so we can start talking about what this team looks like as they're coming together. But this is the process. This is, day 40 of the process of a 365-day process. Like this time next year, these guys are going to be much better. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how that works. And I will lastly say that JoJo has not played against very few guys older than him in his, like, whether it be with ACB.
I mean, in Liga U, a little bit in Liga U. Yeah.
But yes. When I mean, like, he's going to be playing against 23, 24-year-olds. Right. And he's 17. So and even on our team, he's going to have some 22, 23-year-olds on his own team that he's going to be practicing against. So
for sure.
Let him get acclimated to that.
Donald, before we go, I know you had a special message. We've been laughing and having a good time here, but things got to get serious for a second.
Yes, I wanted to take a minute to pay tribute to my friend Megan Lee. A lot of you knew her online. She was at 3x5 on Twitter, and I had known her for, Jason, maybe 15 years. It's funny, we met through the Duke Basketball Report. Just trading stories and reading stuff and commenting online about Duke basketball, a team that she very, very much loved. She passed away a week ago. Due to cancer. She had breast cancer that had metastasized and then spread quickly to her brain. And it was a diagnosis that when she had told me about it a few weeks prior, she knew that she was kind of in for it, but it did feel like it was going to be as quick a toll as it took. And so she passed away on July 4th. And I just wanted to pay tribute to her because she and I talked very, very, frequently. We had gone to games together. At Duke and, talked very, very often just about Duke, about life. She was, we were, sending encouragement when my mom passed, when she was going through her cancer struggle, we were there for each other. And she knew how I felt about her. I know how she felt about me. It was, it was a very, very, terrific friendship that we really loved each other. And it was something where it was more than just an internet friend. She had become a friend in real life. Long ago. And so for her to finally be graduated from this fight, first of all, cancer fucking sucks. We've had too many of those to talk about on this show recently. But those people are warriors. They've graduated from their fight. And so our job now is to look up and say a prayer for Megan Lee, for her family, her friends that knew her very, very well. And for hopefully this team, I promise you, she's up there already making some notes about how this team's going to play. And she knows that I'm a big fan of watching teams succeed in my hometown. So Megan, if you can push us towards Detroit next April, that'd be much appreciated. Rest in peace, girl. Love you.
With that, we will call it quits here on the Duke Basketball Roundup. Jason and Donald, we will be back with you very, very soon. As there is more news coming out about Duke, we'll be here to tell you about it. Do not forget, you can write to us anytime, dbrpodcast@gmail.com. Send us questions, comments, that kind of stuff. Who knows? Maybe it'll inspire us to go off on a 50-minute podcast talking about just your random question. We love to get them. Until then, Donald, Jason, signing off. Here's the Duke Band playing us out and taking us home.